Last week we talked about subtext and dialogue. This week I want to talk about staging and setting your scenes using subtext. So, your job as the writer is to make your characters' desire, distrust, power, and fate visible on screen or on stage on the page without actually having them say it. So, I want you to use the physical space in the room, the environment you've created, and the props to do the talking for them. Staging is when a director puts his characters in a specific place on stage as a way to add tension to the scene. So he might put two people close together, or he might force space in between the two to show that they're arguing or they don't know each other very well. He might put one character on higher ground than the other. They might be up on a diocese, especially if you're talking about a fantasy novel. Uh, you've heard of actors adding lifts to their shoes so that they're actually the tallest one in the scene and they become more powerful. You might have two characters who you want to show desire between accidentally getting closer and closer together as the scene goes on. In fantasy, we have all kinds of amplifiers that we can use to our benefit. So we might have a ward that protects a specific territory, implying that once the characters leave these wards, they're no longer protected. They're no longer safe. They have to fend for themselves, right? We might have a warded circle, like in Practical Magic, when the women created a circle and the character couldn't leave that circle until they decided she could. So there's these boundaries that we can set up. If you're in a royal court setting, you might have forced restraint. There might be manacles. There might be dungeons that characters are trapped inside of and locked up. And then we have all kinds of fun weapons we can play with. And not only the weapons themselves, but how does your character handle that weapon? Are they used to handling a blade? Are they sheathing it properly? Are they disarming the enemy? All these things will give us clues without you having to tell us how practiced your character is. I want you to use props as barriers. So you can force proximity with a prop, or you might force distance with a prop. You might have one cloak. You've written a very cold weather scene and you have one cloak to cover two characters. You might have one character healing another. This requires that they touch that person. This requires that they spend a little bit of time together, that they're still and have a quiet and calm moment together. You might think of Outlander. One of the very first things Claire does when she meets Jamie is she heals him. She sets his joint back into place when he's dislocated his shoulder. You might have one mount, excuse me, and both have to fly on this same mount, just one dragon, one griffin, one Pegasus for the two to share. You can also use barriers like a table in between your two characters. Now, maybe they've put it there on purpose, or maybe they haven't. Maybe they literally need to be on opposite sides of this table, or maybe they're keeping it there because they're denying this attraction that they don't want to feel but do. You might have one character up on a diocese, showing that they're more powerful in station than the other one is. Again, you might have chains or manacles. You might have a spoken oath. So you've got a literal constraint that parallels the emotional constraint that your characters are feeling. So the basic rule is that if a prop is just there to be cool, it's decoration, which is absolutely fine. But if your prop changes, who can move in the scene, who can touch things, who can leave the scene, who can speak, that's some powerful subtext that your reader picks up on and loves. It makes your scene feel alive and immersive. So here's a couple of sample beats that you might use or think about as you write your scenes. Okay, say they're in a ballroom at a court, at a royal court. He's going to stand between her and the crowd. He's protecting her without literally claiming her, but he's claiming her. She might keep a bit of distance between herself and other men she chooses to dance with. So she's choosing to dance with these other men to make him jealous, but she's not willing to go all the way. She's not willing to close the distance between herself and those men. He might land a hand on her waist or her hip, but suddenly still. He didn't do it on purpose. He just wanted to touch her so badly, or claim her so badly. They might be in a dungeon corridor. He might walk behind her so she doesn't see that he's watching her, or he doesn't see that she doesn't see that he's got a limp. At a doorway or a wall, he might brace his arms around her head caging her in. He might lean in and speak softly to her so only she can hear. The tell is she doesn't flinch away. She wants this to happen too. A very commonly used but effective trope. You can use setting to either echo or contradict the emotions your characters are feeling. So weather is very commonly used. Again, a very popular one would be using rain at a funeral, right? It's dark, it's gloomy, everyone's kind of got their head down to protect from the rain. But what if you had a bright and sunny day on a funeral? You might want to have your character mention it, right? In a sarcastic tone, they might say something like, "What a beautiful day for a funeral." If you've got snow in your scene, that implies a hush has fallen over the area. It implies isolation. It's harder for people to get out when snow drifts are high. Or it might force closeness between two characters. They might be locked in the cabin with all the snowdrifts outside. They can't get out easily. You might have thunder, which signals conflict or inevitability, right? You can't stop the thunder. It might foretell a truth or a secret about to come out. Heat shows agitation in a character or sexual temptation. It might show a loss of control for either or both of these, right? They might lose control with their frustration or with their sexual desires. A fog might be a hidden agenda that you're hinting toward. You can also use objects, especially in fantasy tropes. This is very common to use a flickering wardstone, signaling that trust is unstable. A wilting rose, like Beauty and the Beast, the classic, right? Their bond is weakening, their time is running out. This is the literal ticking clock at Beauty and the Beast. Blood on a blade, the juxtaposition of love and violence all tangled together, mixed up. A cracked mirror is a beautiful one, right? Bad luck, a fractured identity, a glamour slipping for just a moment, just long enough for another character to see. Cold iron nails hammered into a doorway. It's safety, but it's been bought at a cost. So here's a quick checklist for you to see if you've added all the tension you can possibly add to this scene. Who controls the exits in the scene? Who controls the weapons? Is it the same person? What's the distance between the characters in your scene? How are they separated with your props? And does it change over the course of the scene? Do they slowly move closer together or further apart? What objects or props are adding tension to your scene? And is the setting echoing the emotion or contradicting it? I have a full 30-minute subtext video for free available on my Instagram. If you'd like to go there and grab that, it's linked in my bio. Next week, we'll be talking about what to keep and what to cut and how to know the difference.